shit, I should have changed that. Oh well. Well, hey, good morning, kids. It's I, Grandpaw Peter Koyote, coming to you here from my new digs in Crestone, Colorado. Got myself a little retreat place here where I can go hide out from the world when I need to. Of course, there's not much of a world to hide out from here. But you know how it is. Sometimes you just got to get your old body situated and, you know, get some transmutation going on, you know. Sometimes you just have to kind of isolate yourself and hide out. Don't be mixing up with everybody's energy. Just mix up with your own and spend some time in communion with your heart, yourself. You know, part of being on a spiritual path, as it's called, is doing that. Is giving yourself voluminous amounts of time in which you can tune into your heart and ascertain your true feelings on just about anything, anytime, anywhere. But it's more like just getting yourself in a groove where you can deal with the situations you encounter in life. And God, do we ever encounter a lot of them, don't we? It's a mess, babies, but it's a cool mess, you know. So, Grandpa's got himself a place like that, you know, where I can hide out when I need to. And I'd just soon be doing so in the great outdoors, but nature's not exactly working with us lately. You know, we're having some good spring weather, and that's what we need to have right now. The ground is crying for water, so the sky is bringing it, you know. And things will blossom and grow. But it makes for a rather unpleasant experience when you're, you know, trying to tune in out there in the great outdoors, you know, and you're sitting on a rock and you're communing with Mama Nature, and she drops water all over you. It's just a little unpleasant, so indoors is better. Right now I don't know if you can hear it popping and crackling in the background, but I got a nice toasty little fire going in my monkey stove here. And I'm feeling just alright. This is the place to be, this is where to be, this is now to be. You know what I mean? So here we are. Processing. And I've been doing a lot of it this week. I've been off work for about a week because my truck broke down. I've just been taking it easy, you know, communing with the brothers and sisters down there at the Shambhala and trying to get a few things done. I actually made a little trip to the hot springs this week and got my soul regenerated a bit. Oh, that was necessary, I'll tell you. Man, if you can get to some hot springs with magic waters, not all of them have magic waters, but a good share of them do. And if you can get to these hot springs with some magic waters, I highly recommend it, because it will give you some settling in your soul and in your heart, no matter what kind of conflict you're going through. And a lot of us are going through some pretty severe energies right now. It's that time in life, it's that time in earth. Change is upon us. And nothing we've ever done before compares to what we're moving into now. Nothing. And we've had some pretty riotous times on this old earth, believe me. Not many of you remember the really good times of a few thousand years ago, but there was some really, and there's been a lot of special moments in between there and here too. Miracle after miracle, you know, life springing forward in its own way, despite all the restrictions heaped on us by darkness, and we still not only survive but thrive. And we've come through these generations, you know, just as colorful as you please. And now we're at the pinnacle, you know, of the age of darkness. We're finally moving out of it, man. So there is a lot of unusual energy loose on the earth today. And it's really an amazing experience to be here now. And yeah, hell yeah, it's a little on the difficult side. Because all the lies we've lived by, and baby, we've swallowed a lot of them. All of the lies we've lived by are being disproven in this day. all of the little idiosyncrasies, all the personality cliques we've got going on, everything we've known of life as life and accepted as a true belief is being changed. You know, there's a challenge here, and it is, can you accept what's real as it reveals itself through you? It's a very personal experience, one-on-one inside of yourself. And yeah, it's meant to be shared, of course. And it is shared intrinsically as you go through it. In other words, as you go through it, others are influenced and affected by it. But babies, it's a challenge to want to be alive right now, just because of the nature of the times and the conflicts we're ending inside of ourselves and inside of this earth that we see around us. We've been like really set up, you know, I mean shoot, we've been like told that we're stupid and small and that our influence on this earth amounts to about a hill of beans. You know, well, beans are very good, as you well know, and can get you through some hard times. So a hill of beans is a valuable thing, even if that's all we're worth. But we're worth a lot more than that. And we're like in this presence now where we can begin to realize the true reality of the situation we're involved in as a person, as a singular being upon this planet, a product of the mother's womb, who has come forward to experience life once again as well as you can, only this time the pinnacle, the peak, the end of all that we know of as darkness, the beginning of all that we know of as lightness. The love actually is permitted to radiate outward from your influential little being. Yeah, beans, a hill of beans, which is a bean that is spreading rapidly, you know. So you just got to be willing to go through whatever you need to get to where you need to be. I mean, yeah, a lot of past life stuff will come up, but mostly we're dealing with stuff in this life. You know, we can clear the past life stuff pretty quick. You can come to points of understanding and let go of your traumas. But there is one base trauma that's been in us forever. You know, I've talked about it before, the effect of the first death. When death came into being. Because, you know, we didn't always live and die like this. Human beings have been through several different dispensations, as I would call them. And it's only in recent times, the last, 10, 12,000 years, maybe 26,000, I can't keep track, who knows. But in these last few thousand years, we've come to accept, death and rebirth through the mother as our way of being, and we think it's just normal. Well, it's not. That's not how we populate the planet and regenerate ourselves. It's been what we've used, and it's been a useful tool and a valuable learning experience to come here and be dumb. I mean, dumber than a post sitting in the ground for 100 years and rotting away. I mean, that dumb. We step away from ourselves when we come here. We still have some of that light and illumination as babies, of course. But before we can begin to communicate that here, because nobody understands spirit communication, or darn few, when you're first born. And before we can begin to communicate it, what we know, where we came from, what we are, the memory of it dissolves away as we settle into the density of our flesh. And by the time we can express it, there's very little of it left. And usually when we do express it, then others around us have a freaking heart attack and try to shut you down, your little baby self. And why would they do that, except that they're dumber than the post too? But that's what's been happening here for a long time. And we weren't able to communicate. So we've gone back and forth to these cycles of life and death. You know, we've known who we are, where we are, what we're doing, yet we're not allowed to experience or express that. We're made to be something conforming to an unusual standard. And that standard's been pretty dark and kind of authoritarian, kind of like giving your power away to let other people tell you what to do and how to do it and when to do it and where to do it and so on. But that's all changing now. The entire force of life, every life that is lived, and it don't matter how dark or how bright it's been or how in between, it's being redirected in the ways of light and love. And there ain't a whole hell of a lot you can do to stop this process. In fact, you wouldn't want to. In your heart of hearts, in that knowing soul that you were born with, guess what? This is perfect, and this is the time for that perfection to come forward and show itself. We're not hiding out any longer. We're coming into the full presence of our being, much in the way that we should be, that we should always be. But we haven't known that. We've chosen a darker experiences for ourselves, a whole set of them. We've gone into war inside of ourselves, so there's been war in the world around us. So what I'm talking about now is ending the conflict that you feel inside. You see, there really is this one deep, basic need in our heart. Need is the right word, too. We like to think that we're full and complete and that we can be whole inside of ourselves and we don't need anything or anybody. And that's essentially true to a point. But there's this one need that goes beyond description. It's deep. It feels kind of dark because the powers that be have messed with us severely and redirected those impulses that would take us home to our heart and made us think that sexuality and romance is the way to go, and put us off in these little corners, locked us up in little houses, 2 at a time usually. Sometimes people will experiment beyond that a little bit, but basically it's been you and she or you and he getting together and setting up a little prison of a household in some little suburb somewhere or some little grass shack out there on an island, wherever. But it's still a prison of sorts, and you're volunteering yourself into it through sexuality and romance. Because our basic energy tells us, because of some of the warpage that's involved here, how we've been warped out of true feeling. So it tells us then that this is the way, the romance. And so we get together, one form or another, it don't matter how it's done, but it's done. And we copulate, we make babies, and try to live as good a life as we can and go through all of the drama that goes with it, raising kids and so forth. Being kids ourselves, raising kids is pretty weird. But it's essentially this family unit that's tucked off by itself and has to be its own little world and then deal with the larger world around it, and oftentimes, of course, because you're off in a little cave, a little house, you don't have a chance. It's you versus the world, man. And that's the view that's given to you from the time you're tiny. You are alone. And you don't stand a chance unless you modify and conform and go get yourself educated, etc. God Almighty, what a pile of poop, huh? So all that is changing now. And we're redirecting our energies, the energies of our soul, our heart, And it's coming out in different ways. Yeah, there still might be the two. And still we tend to go off and isolate ourselves and create our own little world where we're comfortable, where we can be unique and pleasured inside of our little comfort zone. But I don't know if you've noticed, but this comfort zone's being taken away. You know, even little hidey holes like this one that Grandpa's got are only good for so much these days. You can only spend so much time there inside yourself, inside your own little world. And then you have to get out and share what you've been receiving in some way or another. It's part of how life is reforming itself. So our old views of relationships, the one-on-one thing, the one true love, and all of that is changing. And it isn't that those things don't exist. Of course they do. They're just not meant to be expressed and experienced in the way that they have been. It's not a thing to isolate you or cause you to go create your little comfort zone. It's bringing that comfort zone out here where it can be shared. See, we really got into this alone thing. And it's in that alone thing that you find the reminder that it ain't really alone that you want to be. That you want to be divinely connected with the inner source inside of yourself and share that with others and let them share that with you. You want closeness. And not just with one or two people, but with everyone you meet. But there's huge walls of fear and all kinds of trauma and shit like that put in the way. We're taught to fear one another. But even if we respect one another, it's still impossible to have those kind of connections. The ones we felt as a child, when we were first born, and that memory's still in you. It's not erased. It's been buried under a pile of crap, yeah, but it's not erased. It's in there. And you can remember the desire you had when you came forward from the womb of your mother. And that was to be divinely reconnected with everyone around you. We didn't even look at it as a reconnection then, divinely connected. We experienced it that way. Human beings, even with all of the hostility heaped upon us, the silver thrown in our eyes, the scrub brush on our tender little hide, whatever. There's a lot of nastiness goes on in most birthing places. Welcome to this world. Here, scrub you up. Oh, God. But babies, we felt it then. We feel it now. It's been redirected into sexual and romantic desires. Back off a little bit. When you're spending this time alone, see what's inside of you. God, I remember. I know I've told you about a lot of my different little experiences here, some of the disasters and so forth I've been through. And some of the good outcomes too, but you know, simple little stories sometimes have their place. When I was a 5-year-old kid born in this Orthodox society, which was so regimented and everything was all figured out for you and you just had to follow the recipe. What bullshit. Me and this little young lady, I think I was about 5 years old, got to talking after church. We were forced to go to church. I didn't want to, but, you know, there we were. So we got to talking after church one day and decided it would be a good thing for us to express our deep love for one another in the form of a marriage, you know. And we knew we were just little kids, so we wouldn't be allowed too much, but we kind of had it figured out. We walked home from church that day and talked about it all the way and got it all figured out. We could live with her folks for a while, and then we could live with my folks for a while, and you know, spread it around, but at least we would be together and we could share this deep love and be married. We didn't even know what that involved. We had our suspicions, of course. You're 5 years old, you're getting pretty wise in the ways of the world already, because a lot of it's been heaped on you in violated sort of ways. But so you do have an idea, but not really. But we went home dead earnest that day and started talking to my parents and my family about me and old Mary Jane getting married and hooking up and, growing up together. It was a good one. And I remember my family laughing and falling on the floor, and my parents just flabbergasted. They couldn't believe a little 5-year-old kid would come up with such stuff, let alone 2 of us, So, obviously, that one went south. We didn't get to be married and have our happy little married life at 5 years old. But we were experiencing our deepest desires. And we weren't making out and putting our hands on each other's parts or anything like that. We were just kids. We experienced it as an innocent sort of love. And that's what we wanted to share. See, we still had some integrity left. It hadn't totally been blown out of us. Later it was. I ran into Mary Jane years later. In some rather unusual circumstances. I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to. I don't care. I'd been a young and wild man, and I'd gotten myself a little social disease, and so I don't trust doctors. I don't go to doctors. I avoid them like the plague, but in this instance, man, I had to go because I had a serious problem going on. Dose of the clap, Oh, my God. So I'm over there I went to this little hometown doctor back in the hometown because he's one of the few guys I could trust. We've known him for years and so forth. And of course I ain't going to do anything that, runs contrary to my own beliefs, of course. But anyway, make a long story short, I'm in that office waiting to get my big huge shots of penicillin, and here's Mary Jane. This is years and years later. I was probably in my late 20s, probably in my late 20s, yeah. It wasn't too long after I had that heart attack at 28. Hard living, baby. But loving it. Anyway, so there's Mary Jane. After all these years. And the poor girl, well, she hadn't married happily. And she was in the money world. You could see the yuppie was written all over her. And she would hardly even speak to me because I was still pretty much the same little 5-year-old kid. I still had all them sincere and honest desires going on, and yeah, I was trying to put them to work in life, But we jabbered for a minute, and then she went on her way, and I could just shake my head at what had gone on in all those years in between and how far apart we'd grown. It was quite incredible. Did you know something? Secretly, I could still feel that base love that we held as children. And you know what? I felt the same way about Mary Jane then as I do right now, as I did right then as 5 years old. I didn't lose it. I still had it. And I loved that lady, even though she was kind of a mess when I saw her. You could tell she was going through some serious tension. Probably some medical problems going on, and she was real unhappy in life, That's what happens when you marry for money. I'm not saying she did, but that's what the outward appearance seemed to be. I just knew that she was in that world, and that was her life, and it didn't seem much fun to me. But that's the base desire that we all have in us. I just somehow managed to maintain a little more consciousness of it than most do. Most get traumatized out of it rather quickly, and I was too, and severely so, but still I managed to hold some of it and carry it through even to this day, because all I'm really looking for in life is honesty and sincerity. A way to express an experience, in physical format, that which we know of as the heart, the base love, to fulfill the true desire of the heart, which is to be reconnected with yourself. So, of course, this begins within yourself. And we've spent years gathering ourselves back together, those of us that are moving in the ways of consciousness and those that are moving in the ways of unconsciousness too. They just do it in a different way. It comes more by happenstance. Well, for a lot of us too. You can only design so much of this. Much of it just happens. I mean, you be open, you be willing, it comes. But we're finding as we go there, we're going back to a very basic feeling inside. You know, it's not... You feel the old desire, but you feel the corruption in that. And you go through the pain of that, the disassociation from life. You experience your death while you're living. And you let go of that completely. And you open in a whole new way. So that the resonance of your being goes out in this loving way. And commands, demands, brings forward another that can be truthful with you and experience that level of love, the one we were born with as children, the one we still remember underneath all of this painful experience we've been through. We still have it. And that will happen to you. And you will find this other that matches you completely, and you know, but you may not associate in the material way. You may not go off and isolate and create a household and so forth, because that's not what you're here to do. You're here to bring back the love, the life, to fully exponentiate it. When you can gather yourself together, and you do feel full and complete, then when you join with another, this love exponentiates by factors of thousands, millions. It compounds it greatly. That is the basic need that we experience. And we throw it off in a whole 1,000 different ways. Can even get lost in food, drugs, sex, all kinds of things. But none of that satisfies you, and it keeps coming back. Dissatisfied. Until you learn to experience this first within yourself and then with another. And you know enough to trust the heart within you, the knowing awareness that will bring you truthful fulfillment. First within the presence of your being, and then that which can be shared with another. And of course, it goes on from there. There are larger family groups, energetic beings, beings of the same frequency that'll be drawn together. That's part of what our Crestone intergalactic gathering is all about, is bringing folks of like heart together to experience the larger heart that exists amongst all of us. People of the same frequencies, basically, gathering together and not only just sharing those frequencies, but expanding them because we're gathered physically in a physical place. Of course it's spiritual. Of course it goes multidimensional. Of course. It's all involved, but it gathers here in this third dimension, in this physical presence, where we can feel it. Remember how your feelings have been squashed out of you? Well, that's what this is all about. Allowing feeling. You want to try and find truth? Feel. Just let yourself feel. I don't care what the feelings are. Light, dark, anything in between. Let yourself feel. And trust what you're feeling. And it can't help but lead you in good and positive directions for yourself and others. It may be a little tricky, because this association might have to end and that one might have to begin. We've got all of these past life traumas and stuff in our way. You know, we've learned to, pull inside of a shell and protect ourselves. There's a lot to get over. But we're up to it. And why the hell not? If that's the way our heart is leading, go in that direction. Feel. Let yourself feel. Don't be closed. Don't be cold. Feel the coldness. Release it with the loving warmth from your heart. Let go. Be who you are. Find conscious presence within yourself. Don't take no for an answer. Be the person that you are. Let it come. Let your ideas of romance and sexuality be challenged. Let them. Throw that old crap away. What has it done for you? Brought you heartache, sorrow, and trauma, and a lot of richness too, of course. There's both. But it's inadequate. For all that it's been, it ain't been enough. It hasn't gone there. It won't go there. It's time for truthful experience. And that means living beyond the lies we've been taught, and all the restrictions that go with those lies, all the protectiveness. Man, it takes some brave souls, and I know a lot of you aren't up to it. And you don't need to be. If you don't feel it, if you can't do it, be satisfied with that. Let others break the trail for you, because you will come when your time is ripe and you're ready. See where the fingers are pointing, and know who you are. Let yourself feel these truthful, genuine feelings. And you may have to go through a lot of crap feelings to get there. Well, so, just use love. When you got crap feelings going on and you're angry and hateful, use love. See the love even in that hate, that anger. That anger just wants things to be right for you, and for others too. It's a caring thing. It may tend to isolate you. Well, see the negative sides of it. Let go of it. Use all of your feelings creatively. Let the heart, the inner knowing, the desire for truth and truthful connection, let that take first place. And you'll be there before you know what happens. Yeah, you're going to go through some gritty shit. We're going through it anyway. Might just as well. Look for genuineness. Look for caring. Look for truth in that genuine caring. Let go of the lies and the deceits. Don't you know that the experience of oneness is feeling it in every other soul that lives, including yours? It's one thing to appreciate it in here. It's another to appreciate it there, where everybody else is. Rock and roll, you gentle souls. Don't let the ruggedness get to you. It's rugged. It has been rugged. But we can let go of that and heal our presence right as we go along through this process. It's magic. It's powerful. It's love coming to take its presence in the fullness of our being in person. And it may not be easy to experience at first because you're so unused to it. What you know of love in this life has been but a shadow compared to what's coming to you through you now. You are the creative essence of life. What you create is what you live. And in this loving way, you can reformat it all. And in so doing, reformat the entire earth around you because you've changed. Because you've allowed the change. You've opened yourself to receive a true feeling. It doesn't take much, but it takes everything that you are, everything that you have, to let this be. And yeah, it is going to change you. You will not be living the way you do now. And thank God for that. It sucks. This old shithole. This dog eat dog. Grab what you can and free yourself first and foremost. Oh, what an empty place of being. This is fullness I'm talking about. It's a treasure. A joy beyond measure. And it's what we're meant to experience here. It's why we've accepted the physicality. To know how it is to feel. Density. Physicality. And awareness and truth inside of this flesh. And yeah, of course, that transforms the flesh. And you lose the density. Because we're light beings. Not dark. Any one of us could just float and flitter away anytime we felt like it in the true presence of our heart. Being human is to feel life. That's our presence here. It's all about feeling. All of it. And of course, most of the practices we have here are leading in an opposite direction. How to put away your feelings so you don't have to deal with them. Alcohol. Yeah. Drugs. Oh, you can feel that. But ooh, that's a special feeling. Babies, we have been so shut down. Time to wake up. Feeling is caring. Caring is in every feeling you have. And as you begin to recognize that, you're going to be able to assemble the parts and pieces that have been taken away and get around all the judgment we've made on ourselves and be able to live again. That's what this is all about. That's why you may have to go isolate yourself for a bit in order to get back together with everything that lives. Babies, we rock. And this little video is but a suggestion of what can be. The dynamic we live in is powerful. It's not meant to be abandoned and left behind. It's incorporated as a part of your greater being. We take this Mother Earth right along with us because she loves us. And we love her. Because we are the Mother Earth, and each of us individually and all of us collectively, we are living expressions of the truest and purest form of love there could ever be. And we're meant to feel that and empower that as human beings, and this is what transforms us. So babies, open yourselves up for new experience. Here it comes. Allow it to be. And notice what happens when you resist. How much worse it gets. There is a point where you will let go. There's nothing wrong with resistance. This is how you prove to yourself that you are worthy of the pleasure of being. It is a great treasure. The treasure in your chest, in your heart. Allow this experience to be, babies. Because it's what you're here for. And yeah, forgive me if I call us babies and children, because we are. Even though we may be ancient ascendant masters and all kinds of stuff behind the scenes, what we've chosen here is a baby experience. A coming back to life in the same way a baby does. So of course you're going to take baby steps, you're going to crawl, and then you're going to walk, and then you're going to run, and then you're going to smile, and you're going to be happier than you could even conceive of right now in this moment. Transformation lives inside of you. It's a very real thing, and you are the living evidence and proof of it. Allow yourself to be. I know that Papa loves you. And Mama loves you. And so does Baby Bear, too. Rock and roll, children. Grandpa will be back again to see you real soon.